In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heske.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
I have a very special guest tonight. His name is Kacy Boccumini, and he is an amazingly multi-talented person, and we're going to talk about several different things tonight, but I met Kacy probably about a month ago at Lilydale, and some of our listeners will recall that I did a series of podcast episodes from Lilydale about 4 years ago. And I was down there again, just kind of like getting my vibes right and getting right with the world. And we'll have two guests. Kacy's one of them. I took a great workshop that Kacy did about telling stories through tarot. I don't know if that's the correct title, Kacy, but we'll talk about that. There's another gentleman that was a headliner there. There's a former policeman that's now a psychic. So we got some great guests lined up. And Kacy, we're going to start with you tonight. So thank you for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here and to talk to you again. You were so amazing in that class. And so I was delighted to get this email to spend even more time with you. And the class was called Written in the Stars, Unlocking Your Best Creative Stories with Tarot and Astrology.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit. Kyle, you'd find that very interesting. Yeah. And Kyle, of course, our good buddy, sometimes co-host Cuyle Carvin. Welcome to the show, Kyle. Always good to have you.
Thank you. Here we are again.
Here we are again. It's great. Good stuff. We're going to have a good show tonight. Kacy, you could introduce yourself. What is your log line for who you are and what you do? Is there like a 2-sentence thing that you tell people about what you do and kind of what you're doing with your life right now?
Yeah, I think that I have boiled it down to I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm a medium. And of those branches, I have a production company called My Best Guy Productions. And I have a spiritual business called the Lighthouse. So through both of those factions, I basically just show up as a creative person. And whether or not I'm talking about spirituality or I'm talking about horror movies, those are my thing. Yeah, I used to try to segment myself where only people who knew the filmmaking side of me or only people who knew the occult mediumship tarot reader spirituality side of me. And I've just decided to remove those boundaries between the two because they're so beautifully intertwined.
You mentioned a medium. Did that come first? Of your three things that you mentioned that you are, did the medium come first or when did you awaken to those capabilities?
Medium came last.
Really?
So,
wow. Okay,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. It came last in terms of the moniker that the category, right? My assignment of myself. The first assignment I ever gave myself was a writer because I've been doing that for as long as I came out of the womb. And then the filmmaker happened at about 10. I walked out of a movie and I sat down and I was like, hey, Dad, can I borrow a legal pad of paper? And then I wrote my first movie when I was about 10.
Wow.
And then, but during that time, my mom who passed away in 2014. My mom was extremely psychic. She could do the very rare thing of seeing objective clairvoyance. So seeing people as if they exist in the realm who are actually spirits. Very powerful gift she had. And so I was always aware of it. And I believe as a child, I could do that too. But when I would go wake up in a nightmare and tell my parents there's something standing at my bedroom door, I was oftentimes told, as many children are, with this gift, you're imagining things, or you're making this up, or you just saw, the Thriller video too many times. So it's hard to tell whether the writer or the medium came first, but me actually feeling comfortable referring to myself as a medium probably happened literally after Lilydale. So it's been a year.
Wow. So yeah, we're going to dive into that. We're going to start with the filmmaking part first. You are a male trans filmmaker, and you've really take a unique approach. I've seen you on a couple of podcasts and kind of your approach to storytelling. So let's talk about you. You recently became a filmmaker, I guess officially, with your debut short, Last First Kiss, and it received some pretty good recognition. Can you talk about how your personal journey influenced that storytelling and the story that you wanted to tell that is different than so many other type of stories like that?
Absolutely. Last First Kiss I made in 2023. I had been, like I said, I'd been writing forever. And as a writer and a filmmaker, you always also want to act. Like when you're all three, when I was little, I always wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be Tom Cruise because we are the same height. But I didn't think that I was ever going to have a stage where I could do that. And so, as a writer in a film, wanting to move from writing to filmmaking, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, suggested I take an acting class to learn how to be a better director. And I did. That class was called Act Now, and it's the first of its kind acting class for predominantly trans, non-binary, and queer performers. And all of a sudden, I went into this world of trans actors and was like, you know what? I need to make something right now. Like, I have this huge cast just sitting in front of me, all these talented actors who have no place in Hollywood right now. So I'm a writer and a filmmaker, which means I am a creator of worlds, and I could create a world where we exist and it's totally normal. No one blinks an eye. And growing up and loving, right, the John Hughes films, I like a lot of the John Hughes films, but Pretty in Pink has a very special place in my heart because I think it is deeply poetic. I mean, yes, the issue is class. Oftentimes in all white films, the central focus of the disconnect between the leads is that there's a class differentiation, and it's true of Pretty in Pink. It's true of oh my God, Dirty Dancing, right? Like it's like, either rich girl, poor guy, or rich guy, poor girl. And like, that was the 80s. There you go, kids. That's the TLDR of it all. And I was like, what if it's very hard as a trans person to date, because I have found there are some very special circumstances that make it difficult to just fall in love. And so I wanted to write a Pretty in Pink style film. I had already written a Pretty in Pink style short. I think it was called Anthony and Nina Forever. And then when I met this group of actors, I was like, let me change this a little bit so I can make this a world, not just a short about two characters, but a whole world. And lo and behold, Last First Kiss that's what it is.
How did the 1980s and John Hughes films and things like that? How did they? I mean, I figure that's where I kind of grew up. I'm older than you and Kyle, but how did that influence you in this film and the voice that you wanted to have for these type of stories?
Well, I actually wanted, I made it very intentional to try to replicate that as closely as possible, because I wanted to prove that I could use the John Hughes paint by numbers style of filmmaking to tell a story. And if I just changed the cast and refocused the narrative to a different world, right? If you didn't know anybody in this film was trans, you would have no idea that this was a trans film. It's two girls that go on a date in a bar. We never say the word trans. We never say the word queer. There are no pride flags anywhere in the bar, right? The only way that you would know it's a trans film is if you looked and saw that there are trans people in it and could clock them, or if you knew that I was a trans filmmaker. And that is by design. Like, the only thing that makes my argument and my central theme in all of my films is the thing that makes these quote unquote trans films is that I am a trans director, and that is the lens by which I float through the world. But this is a romantic film. It just so happens to be a romantic film about, for all intents and purposes, if you were going to call it something, it's very much a lesbian film. It's about two women who go in love and fall in a date. So my personal journey has been one of, I've never really been part of one or the other community. I was raised by straight people. I was raised by straight culture. Growing up in the 80s, I was heavily influenced by, Black culture, because I really feel like in the 80s, those are the people on TV that raised me. Like, I really was heavily influenced by Bill Cosby. Like, he was my measure of what it meant to be a responsible man. Also, Eddie Murphy, he was my measure of what it was to be a very successful, humorous Black man. You know what I mean? Like, Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, Whitney Houston, like Tina Turner. I could go on and on and on about how, as a white child, I have had nothing but benefits of Black culture without any of the consequences. So I find it to be so funny that, like, our films, Black films, Latino films, Asian cinema, trans films, those aren't genres. Those are simply the people who made them and the audience of we're the plot. We're not genres. Sorry, that was a long answer, but I hope it answered your question.
No, that's great. I mean, it's really like it's just almost kind of incidental that your characters are lesbian, but it's really a love story, right? And it's like you focus on the characters. It's very much a character-driven love story. Yes. I haven't seen it, but from seeing some of the podcasts and seeing some clips of it, and you really focus on the characters and you make them. It's about the people. It's about the people more than anything else, I think.
Is there a site or anything that you can see that public can see that?
Yeah, you can. It's publicly available on Vimeo, and also everything can be seen on my website. It's mybestguy.com.
So Kacy, 2 decades at Sony Pictures. That's pretty cool. How were your experiences of innovation? You had distribution from your creative work and influence your decision to your My Best Guy film. Talk all about that.
So, yeah, it's hard to believe that I spent 20 years of my life doing anything because part of me feels like I'm not that old. But so I have seen the ins and outs of post-production distribution from, the moment something stops being a theatrical release all the way through to first and second runs of like DVDs, Blu-rays, and all the distribution channels. The only thing I haven't worked in is like the networks or how it shows up on second run TV. But I did support all the people that would make like the airline edits or the edits on TBS that you would see that would be missing like, some few key nudity scenes. And what it taught me over that time was 2 things really. Number one, as a lover of movies, how big and sprawling this industry is, because it's not just, it's the people who collect the little statues, the gold statues in February or March, depending on where the Sundays hit. Those are just one aspect of it. From agents and managers and hairstylists who support and stylists and PR reps who support them, to the casting directors and the agents and managers who put those things together, to the producers, both on the financial side and on the creative side who put that together, to the people who create the posters. Everybody that works in the studio, top down, from the marketing to the operations people, to the tech people who build their tech, to the people who support the executives that sign off and make the decisions, to the people who let you into the security gate. Also, to the people who work at the movie theater, to the people who make your popcorn, to the people who take and translate all of those things so that people in Spain, in France, in Latin America, in China can hear and see and read the subtitles, to the people who make the trailers, to the people who fly, put them on an airplane so that you can watch it on the airplane. This is a huge, sprawling industry. To the people who drive the trucks, to the people who move the lights, to the people who then write about it and podcast about it. It is so fundamental to our economy because it's huge. Because I'm not only just talking about the studios or talking about production companies, I'm also talking about their vendors, right? One of my friends used to work at the place where they made the flying titles for Avengers, and it was so top secret what the name of the last one was that he lost months of his life, and it ended up being Endgame, which is incredible. But the NDAs that go into something that is just like a VFX pass, it's just strong. So the enormity of the industry is one thing I learned, number one. Number two was I learned how easily it was for a filmmaker who was only thinking about themselves could fundamentally disrupt so many people's days, weeks, months. David Fincher ruined not one but two Thanksgivings of mine because of a delay. Him and Scott Rudin. And it's hard to ruin a Thanksgiving of mine because I come from a family of alcoholism and dysfunction. And the fact that he topped both of those things is amazing. And it was just because it's not necessarily his fault, but he wanted to make a decision on something and he literally refused to understand that there were more things to this process than just his wants and needs. And that's a really good thing to know as a filmmaker, because you're not alone in this business.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is an Afraid of Nothing paranormal podcast alert.
$10 merch. $10 merch.
That's right, podcast fans. If you go to our website, afraidofnothingpodcast.com, and click on the store tab, you too can find now $10 merch on the website. So not only can you get the great stuff like the hoodies and the t-shirts and the blankets and the glasses, you can also get stickers and bumper stickers and, well, a whole lot more. You need to see it yourself. But just remember this.
$10 merch
is now available at the Afraid of Nothing podcast store. Check it out. And remember, never be afraid to look good. It's a good thing you didn't work with Stanley Kubrick, because I hear one of my guests, is kind of an expert on him and kind of the symbolism in his films that I had recently, and he would ruin everybody's holidays. He would have films would go on way over budget, way beyond when they were supposed to run. So, yeah, I think you probably had some lessons that you learned how to be a good director from your experiences at Sony too, right?
I did. I learned a lot about leadership. As a film director, anybody listening to this, my take as a film director is your one job is to verbally communicate every single piece of your vision from top to bottom. You need to be able to describe it in perfect detail. You need to be able to detach it from your brain, put it into words, and give it to somebody and say, hey, this vision that I've just articulated to you, I want this to be something you're willing to lose sleep over for months of your life. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't be a director.
Speaking of storytelling, I mentioned at the top of the episode, I met you in Lilydale, and you did a great workshop called Weaving Stories with Tarot and Astrology, which really caught my attention. I'm like, I got to take this class. And it was a 3-hour class, and you were just an excellent teacher. And I'm just wondering if you could talk about a little bit, because we'll probably pivot now into some of the paranormal side of who you are and your background. But let's talk a little bit about how you came up with that concept, and do you use it yourself in your film?
Boy, oh boy, I can't wait to dive into this supernatural part of me. The class that I taught is now called Written in the Stars. Written in the Stars is about ways in which you can use tarot and astrology to enhance your characters, the characters that you write, and also the worlds that you build in novels, in short stories, and in screenplays specifically. So the reason why I love using tarot and astrology is because these are modalities based on people. Astrology is a birth chart for people. It tells you pitfalls, challenges, strengths. It tells you, and like every house in the zodiac is represented in your chart. And also when you look at somebody who so closely identifies with a Capricorn, then you can look directly opposite Capricorn and find Cancer and find a villain or a conflict. Like it in and of itself, it's a story, it's a world because it's about someone's life. And tarot, anybody who's studied tarot or knows tarot knows that the major arcana is the hero's journey. It starts at the 0 card, which is the Fool, and it goes all the way to the World card, which is Saturn, and the Rules and the Father. And it really does follow a path. And that path is analogous to the hero's journey in a movie, and also the structure of the climax in a feature film where it goes straight up to a high peak. You start in one place, go straight up to a high peak, and then you start at a place that's very similar to where you started, but just a little different.
Yeah, Kyle, I think you would have really liked this workshop because it wasn't a huge amount of people. There was like 7 or 8 people there, but everyone was able to pretty much grasp it and apply it as we went through it was a 3-hour workshop. So
yeah, that sounds cool.
From all walks of life and all experiences. So it was very cool. Kacy did a great job, teaching us. It was very patient and gave us time to apply it as well. So it was a lot of fun. How can people, Kacy, take this course? Is it only if they go to Lilydale, or can they access it online?
Yeah, so I was actually going to start teaching it online starting in the fall.
It'd be great.
And so I'll share my Eventbrite, but the thing is, it doesn't have to be 3 hours. Lilydale has a thing where the workshops are either 3 hours or all day. It's like 3 hours, 4 hours, or all day. So that's why it was 3 hours. But the 3 hours did allow me time to sit there and allow you to create in the room so that you prove to yourself that you got it and that you can utilize it out, that you got your money's worth, that you know how to utilize it, you know how to put it into practice, and then you can take it beyond there. Stephen King notoriously has written in the past using his tarot deck. He's a big fan of it. And also Ernest Hemingway. There's a few other people. Lots of people use astrology to do lots of things. A lot of investment firms have an on-site astrologer. So, one of the biggest myths of the world is that, this is women's stuff or that it's make-believe. And that's usually what you tell somebody when you don't want them to know the secrets that you do.
I have to hop in real quick because not necessarily related, but I have my 14-year-old dog is on the other side of the room here. His name's Pippin, and he's deaf. He's been deaf since birth. But while you were talking, he latched onto something across the room. And usually he's very easy to get attention to because if I just wave or anything, he always notices. But I could not break his stare at something he's looking at, and just had to say that because that's really odd behavior from him. And he started sniffing the air at the whatever he was looking at. So anyway, throwing that in there.
Well, I would like to welcome our unnamed guest to the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, Kacy, Kyle could tell you, probably on 1 out of 8 or 10 of these episodes, I'll hear after I download it, there'll be EVP. So maybe I'll hear on Kyle's track, there'll be something that'll come through. We'll see.
I love that. Kyle, do you have spirit guides? Do you have people that you have on your wall? Do you have do you know who is on your spirit team?
I'm not sure. I know I'm definitely aware that they're around. I'm not sure who. I have ideas of who it might be, but no, I'm not exactly sure.
The way that we can sort of transition into the person, what is your belief in the afterlife and ghost stories, if that's okay. So when I have a personal belief from the spirits that I've spoken to, that when you love somebody, like actor, writer, director, athlete, thinker, philosopher, judge, whatever. When you really, really love somebody who's not related to your family, the love is what they see from the other side. So similar to the way that we look up to the night sky and we see stars, they look at us and they see our love as light, like a star. So if there are people that you revered, more than likely they're on your team and on your side.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting here, I am joined by my three, and one of them is Robin Williams. One of them is Alfred.
Really? Huh.
One of them is Alfred Hitchcock, and one of them is, of course, Carrie Fisher. These three are on my spirit team. They've identified themselves to me in many ways, and so I brought pictures of them into my creative workspace so that I can talk to them and they can sit more specifically and directly with me. So, do you have those, Bob? Do you have those?
I have been told, Kacy, I was actually on the Facebook app has a date, so I'm single, right? So divorce. So so I had a date, and I tend to end up with people that have kind of a third eye thing going on. And I literally was on a date, and the person said she could see my spirit guide right next to, and she was really distracted. And she's like, "I see your spirit guide." I'm like, "Really? Wow!" It's like so. And I had been told there's a medium called the Beantown medium that Cuyle and I know very well. She was in the documentary, and she has let me know that I have a lot of spirit guides, but I don't really know how to communicate with them. I tried very hard when I was laid off. I was laid off twice probably in the past 5 years, the only time in my career. And I really reached out to spirit guides for help and for all that stuff, and it seemed to help. But I think I'm kind of a tunnel vision when it comes to the paranormal, unlike other people. And that's why I do this podcast, to meet people who are more open than I am.
Aren't you a Taurus? Did I get that?
I am. Yeah, we're both a Taurus. Remember, we were getting in trouble with that at the workshop.
Yeah,
because there were other people that didn't go good with Taurus.
So I'd have to see your entire astrological chart, but what can be difficult sometimes with people who have a Taurus sun, because I have a Taurus rising. Taurus sun is you require really, really tangible evidence. Like you need to see it, like see something move. Your next guest, the guy, I have his book. I met him in Lilydale too. Is it Steven or your next guest from Lilydale?
Rich Bocconi.
Rich Bocconi. I was like, I know the last name Bocconi, Rich. So yeah. Rich was talking to me about standards and ethics that he has for his mediumship. I bet you that one of the things he could show you is how to have a conversation with your spirit guides so that they know how to connect with you in a way that you will understand.
Kacy, are you self-taught too?
I am self-taught-ish. So I could always channel, and I started really during lockdown. I could just start channeling people and channeling information. I didn't know where it came from. I have a few personal ghost stories, but one is really scary, so we can go into that next.
Yeah, bring it.
But Lilydale, Eileen's class at Lilydale was the first time I had ever had somebody show me how to do mediumship. And from that point, I was hooked. I've taken a couple classes. Judy Weaver, I took her astro travel class. Yep. I couldn't recommend it more. Oh, what a delight. I mean, also, she's just so fun and so powerful. I love Jan. I think Jan's style is probably one of my favorite as a medium. You know, Jan Dreschman, who has the Salt Cave.
Oh, yes. She was yes. She was actually one of the people I interviewed 4 years ago. And I was actually in the Salt Cave. I was interviewing them. She got the dog. She's a small dog, right?
Mr. Tibbs. Isn't that Salt Cave incredible?
Yeah. Kyle, you got to get out to Lilydale at some point. I think you'd really like it. You and your family. I think that would be a nice place to go.
Yeah. Someone on this is probably 2 or 3 years ago, someone had reached out. They saw some post that I had about paranormal. Last name was McNamara. Said that she is there often or something, but told me the same, that I have to get up there.
I always stay at the Maplewood, Casey. I've been staying there recently. It's a hotel. Used to be like a barn or something, and they kept lifting it up higher and higher as they put new floors underneath it. One of those weird things where they would lift it and build a floor, lift it, build a floor. I don't think they do that anymore, but I forget what they called it. But I talked to someone there that told me about it. But yeah, it's a very cool place. It's worth going to. I really liked it a lot. I mean, have you gone on the ferry trail there?
Yeah.
Any experiences at Lilydale or?
So yeah, I mean, yes, I have. So last year in July of 2024, I went to Lilydale for the first time on a friend's recommendation was like, "Hey, you got to go to this place," and I was like, "Okay, absolutely." So I went, not expecting anything, and within the first day stepping foot on the grounds of Lilydale, I suddenly just looked around and was like, I get it.
Very peaceful.
It's very peaceful, but also like, oh, this is entirely real. I don't know what we're doing. It's just like, this is not conjecture. This is not guessing. This is very, very real. Two people that run, I knew somebody from Los Angeles who her friend's dad used to own the theater in Chautauqua, the cinema in Chautauqua. And so I was like, hey, I'm in Lilydale. They came and they met up for the ghost walk. The one that,
yes, I've been on that a couple times. Yeah.
Which was amazing. But as you know, the ghost walk ends at the inspiration stump. So
yes.
Those of you who do not know Lilydale, out in the middle of one of the oldest forests in the United States, I believe, there is this beautiful clearing, and there's a tree stump that has been cut, and there's a stage there, and there's these beautiful natural wooden benches, and you just sit in the middle of these gorgeous trees in this clearing and meditate in the dark. That is the end of the ghost tour. And it's like 10 o'clock at night. You hear the birds chirping. You hear the bugs bugging. And for the first time in my life, when my mom died in 2014, we had a very challenged relationship. Very challenged. One of the things that she used to joke about is she hated my tattoos. And it's one of those relationships where like, she was very critical of me, and sometimes I had to use my humor and wit against her to protect myself. And it's the only time where she really sort of like appreciated that about me. She was like, I really don't like your tattoos. I was like, what didn't you like about them? And she was like, I don't know. I just don't think they're classy. And I looked at her and I was like, what if I got one of your face? What would you do? It's just a beautiful face. What if I'm going to get one right here of your face? And she like paused for like 45 seconds and just went, please don't do that. God, please don't do that. I was like, right. You couldn't say it isn't classy. It's my mother who I love, right? It's an homage to you. So after she died, I got a tattoo on just above my heart. It says, this one's for you. So I'm with my friends who kind of like, I say friends, but like they kind of, one of them doesn't know me at all. And one of them kind of knows me, but we all share the grief of losing a parent, of losing someone close to us. One, a sister, one, a father. We're sitting there in the dark, and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my tattoo, and I know it's my mom. And she's saying I see this. I see you. And I was like, this place is amazing. I can't believe it. I connected with the spirit. It was unbelievable.
And the woods make a lot of noise too, don't they? I mean, when I've been there.
Yeah. It's not quiet. It's not like.
Yeah, it's not quiet.
It's loud. There's a chorus and an orchestra of bug life that's happening, and fairies. Magical beings. But yeah, it was incredible. That's not my scary story though. That's my good story.
Do we have time for you to share your scary story with us?
I would love to, because it happened on Halloween.
Wow.
I know. Perfect. Let the macabre music begin. We start our story. Bob, you have a perfect radio voice, by the way. I just want you to
Doesn't
know.
he?
Oh,
Yeah.
You have a voice for radio, but a face for TV. Do not get that twisted.
I know. Kyle has a face for TV and film. He's got everything going for him with that aspect. But yeah.
So close your eyes and travel back in time to the year 2020. It is October 31st, 2020. My birthday is the day before. Everyone is in lockdown, so this is a very different Halloween. And as you remember, this is going into the 2020 election. So we're at the tail end of a very tumultuous time. COVID and the election. And also there's a super blood moon, which is a full moon in Taurus, because it's in Scorpio season on that day. So dark night, but a huge moon. And I was like, you know what? I've got this new skill. I've learned how to do tarot readings. I've started to channel stuff. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. So here we go. I'm going to go outside and my pergola in my backyard, and I'm going to do a ritual. And I'm going to call in a bunch of stuff. And I think I'm great. So I'm sitting there and I do my rituals, and I've got my candles set, and I got my, Palo Santo burning. And as soon as I'm done with my ritual, I hear, hello. And
Wow.
like when I say a spear of pure ice runs down my spine, because the echo and the timbre and the clarity. Like, I have clairaudience very well. I can hear people speaking in full sentences. That is one of the gifts, the clair senses that I have. That's the strongest. This was not that. This was not subjective clairaudience. This was objective. I heard this voice in that realm because the veil was literally like a thread thin, and it pierced right through that. And I nodded my head. I blew up my candles. I gathered my tools. I went inside as soon as I could. Now, flash forward 2 months. I have an app on my phone, and I used to have it listen to me sleep, right? And I had this, and it would do recording. So if you're snoring or if some, if you have sleep apnea, it catches it, right?
Yeah.
So for some reason, when I listen to my recordings, I'm not snoring. I'm like talking to someone. There's talking, but I can't hear what I'm saying. But I'm like, that's what it sounds like, and it's weird. So then I go on a Zoom date. Now, many of you in COVID remember that there was no dating because there was no vaccine, so we dated on Zoom.
Yep.
So I went on a Zoom date, and the room that I'm sitting in is my office, and directly behind me is my hallway. And in my hallway, phone calls drop. There are no lights. It is very dim. It is just a weird, I just call it my weird corner of my house. It's just weird. And there's a mirror right next to it, and I have a Psycho poster and a Creature from the Black Lagoon poster hanging right outside. I was on this Zoom date, and the person could see behind me and look at that area. And the date went fine, and as we were progressing, the person was like, well, you seem really nice, but are we going to talk about that creepy dude in the hat behind you? And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
What creepy dude are you talking about? And they were like, that creepy dude behind you, that spirit behind you. And I was like, didn't know. I didn't know. I was like,
Did you record it, Kacy? Was it recorded or no?
It was not a recorded Zoom date, and I did not record that ritual.
Bummer.
However, I introduced myself to boundaries and saging, like clearing, doing this. I smudge my house every month. I am very kind to the spirits. I forgot the best part. That night I went to sleep because I did a smudge of my house, but I didn't do one very important thing, and I was taught a lesson. And so anybody who smudges their house, it's one, like I have a cat, so I can't open the doors. I open the windows, but my front door has a security gate, and the security gate has squares on it. So it sort of looks like a prison. That night, I smudged my house. I went to sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a terrible dream. And it was one of those dreams where I couldn't open my eyes. I was fully awake, but I couldn't move. And it was like something holding me down, pressing me to the bed, and it was showing me a specific picture. All the windows and doors of my houses were open. It was like an endless night where day did not exist. And I was being shown my closed front door, my security gate. And it was just like, and there was I have a black cat, his name is Wesley. There was 60 Wesleys all meowing at the same time.
Wow.
And the overarching message was, open the door and let me out.
Woo. There's your next movie, Kacy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. So my mediumship is, the spirits are very helpful. And like, look, no offense, but like they can't help how scary their world seemed to us. There was nothing menacing about this. It was just like, this was an intense person. And now I've come to realize it was my next door neighbor who I loved dearly, who was just saying hello and visiting. And because I didn't know and hadn't protected and prepared myself, he couldn't come to me in a way that wouldn't have scared me. So
Was it astral traveling, or was that the neighbor that's still alive and they astral traveled to you?
No, the neighbor had passed
Okay.
away several years before.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. His name is Rick, and he was lovely.
We'll see if he bleeds through on the audio tracks. That happens at times.
I would hope so. He was a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much. Promote your website and the Lighthouse as a spiritual hub. Just talk about all things you and where people can follow up with you and maybe even connect with you.
Absolutely. Anybody who would like to connect with me can find me on my website at www.mybestguy.com. You can hit the contact me page, and also you can watch all the movies that I've ever made, even starting out with the very first one, which was shot on my cell phone using a sink with googly eyes and a tea diffuser. It's called Danger Bill. It's very adorable, very in my voice. For my spiritual work, all of my services are available at www.lightwork.care. That's also where you'll find the class Written in the Stars, as well as some other classes that I'm doing. And you can follow me on Instagram at My Best Guy Films, where I do, some silly, fun stuff. But yeah, keep in touch. And I so appreciate this space. Oh my gosh, I forgot the most exciting thing. I just found out today I am officially a member of the Lilydale Assembly.
Are you really? Oh, Kyle, now we both got to go down there. Wow. So you'll be there again next year.
I'll be there again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year.
Are you going to buy a house out there? Because it's like Lilydale is a community like 40 or 50 people who have houses that are mediums and psychics. Are you going to live out there at some point, or?
You know what, Bob? From your mouth to the universe's ears, I would love to.
I bet you there's going to be some openings. I'm not psychic, but I see that in your future, Kacy. I see that in your future.
Oh, thanks.
You had mentioned Lilydale, and you don't, and your love of camping. And you're like, there's animals out there, and it reminded me of. Well, where are you from, Kacy?
Los Angeles.
Oh, you're from That's funny because I grew up in upstate New York, and I had moved to LA back in 2010, and I had right in Los Feliz, and I lived at an apartment complex. And one day when I was coming home, there was, I don't know, 7 or 8 people that were just standing at the end of the sidewalk as soon as you come into the gate. And they were, had hands over mouths, and they were like, don't go near it. And you would think like a tiger had escaped the zoo. And it's this tiny little skunk is just like, happens to be under a little bush there. And it just made me laugh because it was like, oh, these LA people still not used to like this, this wildlife. It just made me laugh.
Oh, at Lilydale, there's this beautiful little dock right behind where I usually stay. It was gorgeous, and I would go out there.
Yep.
There's this really great brand of gluten-free beer called Dora Dom. It's Spanish, and I would take my beer out there, and I would just go sit and watch the sunset. On the last day there, someone was like, "Oh," and I'm deathly afraid of snakes. I understand that they're part of the occult in nature, and that's fine. But we don't. Neither the twain shall mix. And someone was like, "Oh yeah, I literally yesterday just saw a snake just go right into the water there." And I will not visit. I have one picture, and that's the last time I'll be on that dock.
Well, you have memories anyways. That's good. So, so Kacy, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and would love to have you back if something else comes up or your next film, and talk some more.
Absolutely. What a pleasure, both of you. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.